So what is up, guys? Student the Savage back in today. Well, I'm filming this on Halloween, so I am Drew Brees. Got the jersey. Actually put on some shoulder pads. You got the hat, the eye black. I'm missing the scar though, but anyways, that is enough about that. Today we are coming out with my week Drew Brees predictions. If you haven't got that yet, he is number 9. It's my NFL Week 9 predictions. And now, even though this is being filmed on Halloween, I plan on releasing it the day after, just so I can kind of relax tonight, watch some football, just enjoy the night, because I've had another long, hard week at school. But anyways, enough about this. Let's get this video started. Now we have our very first matchup, which is on Thursday Night Football, the Halloween special between the Arizona Cardinals and the San Francisco 49ers. The Cardinals came off a 31-9 loss against my boys in the Saints, Who Dat Nation. And the 49ers came off a 51-13 victory over the Panthers. So starting off, the Cardinals, you guys had a tough time. The Superdome is a hard place to walk into, and I didn't expect you guys to win. Kyler Murray, 220 yards, 0 touchdowns, 0 picks. You guys didn't really have a good running back. So you had Chase Edmonds, but he got nothing going. You guys got nothing going. You had just under 50 rushing yards. So good performance by the Saints defense. Then, of course, your receivers couldn't get too much going. I mean, Charles Clay, 3 receptions, 88 yards, and then Christian Kirk, 8 receptions, 79 yards. Other than that, you guys just fell in the Superdome to Drew Brees. Hell freaking yeah. And then the 49ers had a statement victory against the Panthers. So starting off, Garoppolo, 175 yards, 2 touchdowns and a pick. But the main guy was Tevin Coleman, 11 carries, 105 yards, and 3 touchdowns. You guys got that running back by committee, but to be honest, Tevin Coleman may be your number 1 back this season. George Kittle, 6 receptions, 86 yards, and that was about it. I mean, your defense, you picked off Kyle Allen 3 times. And Kyle Allen, the question was he good because... is he actually the good quarterback, or does he look good because of McCaffrey? And, of course, it's the latter. So if I want to pick a winner for this one, I think Nick Bosa is just going to torture Kyler Murray in Arizona. It's in the desert tomorrow. So 49ers will win on the Halloween special. And now you are moving on to our very next match, which happens to probably be the last matchup that will take place in the UK. So it is the Houston Texans versus the Jacksonville Jaguars. So starting off, the Texans came off a 27-24 victory over the Raiders, and the Jaguars came off a 29-15 victory over the Jets. So starting it off, the Texans, man, you guys are screwed. You have absolutely no secondary. You traded Jadeveon Clowney, and J.J. Watt is out for the season. You have absolutely no defense. But starting off, let me pick a few positives. Deshaun Watson last week, 279 yards, 3 touchdowns. Threw a touchdown after getting a cleat to the eye. Got kicked in the eye. He could only see with one eye, and he was still able to dart it into the end zone for a touchdown. Your rushing game. You actually did get some rushes. 83 over 100 rushing yards. 83 of them were from Carlos Hyde. DeAndre Hopkins is back. 11 receptions, 109 yards. But Darren Fells was the man that got the big touchdowns in the end. But anyways, of course, your defense just sucks. And then you got the Jaguars. Gardner Minshew II was just able to have fun against the Jets. 279 yards, 3 touchdowns, no picks. Leonard Fournette ran for 76 yards. Honestly, you beat the Jets. That's not much of an accomplishment. Chris Conley, DJ Chark, they got all the receptions, so not much else I can say because Sam Darnold, you picked him off 3 times, man. He is still seeing ghosts. I saw the funniest thing. Jacksonville pre-game actually had their own little ghost flying around just to kind of mess with Sam Darnold. So I want to pick a winner for this one. I'm going to go with the Jaguars just because the Texans have no defense. Leonard Fournette is going to ravage them. And if Leonard Fournette can't get anything going, then Minshew mania will happen. So Jaguars win this game. So now you have our very next match between the Chicago Bears and, I don't know why I said it like that, and the Philadelphia Eagles. The Bears came off a 17-16 loss to the Chargers, and the Eagles came off a 31-13 victory over the Bills. Starting off the Bears, another missed field goal to miss the game at Soldier Field, nearly the same spot, and you still missed it. I don't know what the hell that was. But anyways, starting off, Mitch Trubisky, 253 yards, no touchdowns and a pick. No, Trubisky is not good. The guy that really performed well was David Montgomery. 27 carries, 135 yards and a touchdown. You're finally handing the ball off to him, which is amazing. Finally, you get to see how good of a rusher he is. For receiving, no one was really stand out because it's Trubisky you have. But you guys kept it close against the Chargers. The Chargers offense has just had a hard time getting it to click. They have not had a very good season, but of course, you fell short. And then the Eagles, you had to win this game. If you lose to Buffalo, then there might not be a tomorrow. You guys might be out of the January playoff picture. But Carson Wentz, 172 yards and a touchdown, didn't do too much. The game was really all Jordan Howard and Miles Sanders rushing for over 160 yards, both getting touchdowns. The receiving game, Alshon Jeffrey, he did okay, but your defense was able to stop the Bills, I know the Bills aren't exactly, have the greatest offense. I get that. You didn't just stop their offense. You stopped their defense, which is one of the better units in the league. And that is a very good accomplishment. So if I want to pick one of this one, Trubisky's going to falter. Eagles will win, and of course, both these teams are in must-win territory, but the Eagles will pull it off and go 5-4. And now you have our very next matchup between the Minnesota Vikings and the Kansas City Chiefs. Starting off, the Vikings came off a 19-9 victory on Thursday Night Football last week against the Redskins, and then the Chiefs came off a 31-24 loss against the Packers. So starting off, Vikings, I'm not proud that you beat the Redskins. There's literally no accomplishment to winning that. I mean, Case Keenum's not going to be playing, so now it's Dwayne Haskins, and, well, he doesn't belong in D.C. He belongs on a real football team. But anyways, Kirk Cousins, 285 yards, no touchdowns, no picks. The game, once again, your offense was just all Dalvin Cook. Over 150 scrimmage yards and a touchdown. Stephon Diggs is finally emerging again because Thielen's out, so Diggs has to really step up, and he's been doing a very good job. Your defense stopped the Redskins, but that's really no accomplishment. Anyways, moving on. The Chiefs, I'm surprised you nearly beat the Packers. You came so close. But going on, Matt Moore threw for 267 yards, 2 touchdowns, no picks. Your rushing game was all right, but going to LaShawn McCoy, what the hell is his ball carry? He fumbled it in a key situation because he cannot ball carry. He literally does this with the ball. It's not secure. It's not like this when he runs. It's more like this. He just has it out in the open please, strip sack me. Please, just make me fumble. He wants to fumble. I don't get it. That's why he's no longer with Buffalo. Tyreek Hill, Travis Kelce, they did their things, but it wasn't really enough. You guys, I'm not going to put too much on your defense since you were going up against Aaron Rodgers, except it was all Aaron Jones that did the big amounts of damage. So if I want to pick one of this one, this is going to be interesting. I'm going with the Chiefs because there actually is a possibility that Patrick Mahomes plays this week. But honestly, I'm not going to count on him playing, but still, I think Kirk Cousins is going to lay an egg and lose. Chiefs win. Moving on. And moving on, we now have the Indianapolis Colts versus the Pittsburgh Steelers. Starting off, the Colts came off a 15-13 victory over the Denver Broncos, and the Steelers came off a 27-14 victory over the Dolphins. Starting off, the Colts, man, you guys made it close last week. Jacoby Brissett had himself an okay game. 202 yards, no touchdowns, no picks. Marlon Mack, 76 yards and a touchdown. Your receivers were all right, but of course the big play of the game was Jacoby Brissett avoiding a sack and throwing to T.Y. Hilton as he made a sideline catch. But you guys are going to be without T.Y. Hilton for 3 to 4 weeks, so that's going to be a problem. Going back, you guys Vinatieri had a rough day at the beginning, but eventually he did nail a 51-yarder to win the game, which is good for him. And then you move on to the Pittsburgh Steelers. You guys made it way too close last week against the Dolphins. You were down 14-0. You guys play down to your competition all the time. But of course, Mason Rudolph finally clicked through 251 yards and a touchdown. James Conner had 145 rushing yards and a touchdown. Juju, 5 receptions, 103 yards and a touchdown. The big highlight of the game was Minkah Fitzpatrick as he picked off Ryan Fitzpatrick twice, picked off his former team twice. So, anyways, if I want to pick one of this one, both these teams are in must-win territory again. A lot of these teams, it's a crucial part of their season to see where everyone stands. The Steelers looking to go 500, and the Colts looking to go 6-2. If I want to pick a winner for this one, I'm going to go with the upset with the Colts. Moving now on. You have our very next match, which is definitely the worst matchup this week between the New York Jets and the Miami Dolphins. The Jets came off a 29-15 loss against the Jaguars, and the Dolphins came off a 27-14 loss against the Steelers. So starting off with the Jets, Sam Darnold, he had a fluke game against the Cowboys, and that was it. After the game against the Cowboys, he just completely faltered. Le'Veon Bell, he can't do everything. He's had a lot of trouble with the Jets, which makes a lot of sense. Sam Darnold threw for 218 yards, 2 touchdowns, 3 picks. The defense couldn't stop Minshew Mania. And honestly, that's about it. Your receivers didn't get too much. Jamal Adams almost was gone at the trade deadline, but at the last second, he was not gone. He remained on the Jets, so there's that. And the Dolphins, really, you gave me false hope. I thought, are you actually about to stop your 0-16 season? Turns out, nope. You had a good first quarter, but then all of a sudden, Ryan Fitzpatrick went Fitzception. Threw 2 picks to Minka Fitzpatrick. The rushing game was just completely limited. So was the receiving game. But, Fitzpatrick doesn't exactly have the greatest decision-making in the world. So when he was on the Buccaneers last year, paired up with Jameis Winston, you really got to see how many picks they threw. But anyways, it was a rough game for you guys because you had 1 quarter, and that's it. So if I want to pick a winner for this one, I'm going to go with the Jets. Because still, I'm going to say Dolphins go 0-16. And now you have our very next match between the Washington Redskins and the Buffalo Bills. I don't even want to make one for this one. It's going to be simply the Bills. But I have to. So, Redskins lost 19-9 against the Vikings. And the Bills lost 31-13 against the Eagles. So, starting off, the Redskins, I don't know what's going on. Case Keenum, he's out. So, you guys are going to have to be starting Dwayne Haskins. I am interested to see what he can do against the Bills when he actually gets his first start. Adrian Peterson, ran for 76 yards, and honestly, that was the best thing you got on offense. I mean, Terry McLaurin was incredibly limited. Your defense, you guys did an okay job. You kept down the Vikings for long enough, but unfortunately, your offense just couldn't battle back. And then the Bills, last week you lost the Eagles, and if you won, that's a statement victory. Josh Allen, 169 yards and 2 touchdowns. The rushing game was kept to under 100 yards as Allen, Gore, and Singletary just couldn't put it all together. John Brown, Cole Beasley, they were your 2 big receivers, and they didn't even have big games. So honestly, it wasn't a really good week for you guys because you guys got destroyed by the Eagles offense, which is very good, I'm not going to lie. But at the same time, they had been struggling to get something to click all season. So if I want to pick a winner for this one, like I said before, Bills. So now we are moving on to the Tennessee Titans versus the Carolina Panthers. The Titans came off a 27-23 victory over the Buccaneers, and then the Panthers came off a 51-13 loss against the San Francisco 49ers. Anyways, starting out with the Titans, you guys made it close last week against the Buccaneers, but of course, Jameis Winston got into the festive spirit and threw picks. So Ryan Tannehill threw 193 yards and 3 touchdowns. Derrick Henry ran for 75 yards. And that was about it. Your big receiver was Jonnu Smith, 6 receptions, 78 yards, and a touchdown. Other than that, your defense, of course, was able to pick off Jameis Winston because, it's Jameis. Not much else to say about you guys. And then the Panthers, Kyle Allen, I questioned a lot. Was he good because he was facing garbage, or was he good did he look good because of who he was facing, or was Christian McCaffrey carrying him? Turns out it was the latter. Christian McCaffrey had to do everything. 117 yards rushing and a touchdown with 4 receptions for 38 yards. Over 150 scrimmage yards. Kyle Allen threw 158 yards and 3 picks. Not a good game played. Your defense was picked apart by Tevin Coleman, of all people. But other than that, it was just not a good week for you guys. You guys completely faltered against the 49ers, which I did expect. So if I want to pick a winner for this one, I'm going to go with the Titans. And now we move on to the Detroit Lions and the Oakland Raiders. The Raiders get to actually play their first game back at home at O.Co Coliseum, which is nice because they spent like a month away from home just because, the Athletics in the playoffs, they didn't want anything happening so that they would end up having to, because if the Athletics made a deep playoff run, there just probably would be too many complications between the NFL and the Raiders. But enough about that. The Lions last week came off a 31-26 victory against the Giants, and the Raiders came off a 27-24 loss to the Texans. Starting off with the Lions, I don't know what to think about you guys. Matt Stafford had a good game, 342 yards, 3 touchdowns and a pick. Your rushing game, it's really taken a step down without Kerryon Johnson. Your top rusher is Tra Carson. Kenny Golladay did his thing, and that's about it. Your defense had a lot of trouble going up against Daniel Jones, of all people. But he had a good game, and you guys barely walked away with a victory. I'll say that. And then the Raiders, what happened last week? You guys you had the Texans down for the count. But of course, Deshaun Watson proved that he's just too much. Derek Carr threw 285 yards, 3 touchdowns. Josh Jacobs, 66 rushing yards and 15 receiving yards, Tyrell Williams, Hunter Renfro with a big man, both of them combining for nearly 200 reception yards. Other than that, your defense had a lot of trouble going up against the Texans, and you put up 24 points against the Texans, which is okay. So anyways, got to pick a winner for this one. It's going to be the Lions. Simple. So now you are moving on to our very next match between the Tampa Bay Buccaneers and the Seattle Seahawks. The Buccaneers came off a 27-23 loss against the Titans, and the Seahawks came off a 27-20 victory over the Atlanta Falcons. Starting with the Buccaneers, you made it close against the Titans. Jameis Winston, 301 yards, 2 touchdowns, but of course, 2 costly interceptions. At this point, I think it's just too late for Jameis Winston. Number 1 overall pick, and he completely faltered. The rushing game was very limited. Your big rusher was Jameis Winston, and Mike Evans this season, I can't get a good grasp on because he has either very good performances or very bad performances. This week was one of his better ones. 11 receptions, 198 yards, and 2 touchdowns. Chris Godwin, very limited because this was all about Mike Evans because, nearly 66% of Jameis Winston's throwing passes were, 66% of his yards were from Mike Evans. And that's about as much as I can say. And then you move on to the Seahawks. You came off a big victory against the Falcons. They did start Matt Schaub, who actually had a good game. But anyways, Russell Wilson, 182 yards and 2 touchdowns. Chris Carson ran for 90 yards. Rashad Penny had 55. But DK Metcalf, 3 receptions, 13 yards and 2 touchdowns. But your big receiver, Tyler Lockett. Your defense, for the first while, you guys checked out in the second half. You said, forget it, I'm a head out. And, the Falcons got back in the game a little bit, but other than that, it just wasn't enough. So if I got to pick a winner of this one, easily the Seahawks. And now you are moving on to our very next match between the Green Bay Packers and the Los Angeles Chargers. The Packers, they came off a 31-24 victory over the Chiefs on Sunday Night Football. And the Chargers came off a 17-16 victory over the Bears. So starting off with the Packers, big statement victory. You guys are 7-1. Aaron Rodgers threw for 305 yards and 3 touchdowns. But that wasn't really the big guy of your game. It was Aaron Jones, as he had over 200 scrimmage yards and 2 touchdowns. He played a very good game. Aaron Jones has had to carry the load a little bit ever since Devontae Adams went out. But I have a feeling he's going to return this week and is going to be a big threat to the Chargers defense. Your defense faltered against Matt Moore and the Chiefs, but you guys were barely able to pull out a victory in Arrowhead. So moving on to the Chargers, you guys made it so close last week. Phillip Rivers threw for 201 yards, a touchdown and a pick. Your rushing game is nothing at all. Melvin Gordon ran for 31 yards and a touchdown. Eckler only got 3 yards. In the air, it was Mike Williams, Keenan Allen combining for just over 100% receiving yards. So offensively, you guys were terrible, but defensively, you stopped the Bears. You stopped Trubisky. David Montgomery ran all over you guys, but Trubisky was just faltered again. So if I got to pick a winner for this one, I'm just not buying it into the Chiefs. I just don't buy their case. So the Packers will easily win this game. And now we move on to the Cleveland Browns versus the Denver Broncos. The Browns came off a 27-13 loss against the Pats, and then the Broncos came off a 15-13 loss against the Colts. So starting off with the Browns, I didn't really have high expectations for you guys last week against the Patriots, and it proved me right. You proved me right. Thank you very much. Baker Mayfield, 194 yards, a touchdown and a pick. Nick Chubb had 131 rushing yards, but he did have 2 fumbles. So that's never good. Jarvis Landry and OBJ just combined for just over 100 receiving yards. Other than that, your defense just got smothered by the Patriots. Sony Michel and Tom Brady. And that's about as much as I will say for you guys. And then the Denver Broncos, Joe Flacco actually is now out for the rest of the season. And now you're starting Brandon Allen. Really? Why not just start Drew Lock? I mean, I have been hearing reports saying that Drew Lock, they don't feel he's ready. I get that. You don't want to have like a similar situation to what you had when you had Brock Osweiler. But anyways, Flacco was terrible, 174 yards. Philip Lindsay and Royce Freeman couldn't even crack 100 rushing yards. Cortland Sutton, has had a lot of trouble with Flacco, so I want to see what he can do with Brandon Allen. But other than that, nothing else I could say. Your defense kept the Colts quiet, but you guys didn't do it the whole way. So since Flacco is out for this game, the winner, I'm going to say, is the Cleveland Browns. And now we move on to our Sunday night football matchup between the New England Patriots and the Baltimore Ravens. The Patriots came off a 27-13 victory over the Browns, and the Ravens were on their bye week last week, but they came off a 30-16 victory against the Seattle Seahawks, which was a pretty good statement victory. Anyways, starting off with the Pats, you face the Browns. They've been all hype, but they've been no action. Brady, 259 yards and 2 touchdowns. Sony Michel, rushed for 74 yards. Julian Edelman, 8 receptions, 78 yards, 2 touchdowns. Your defense just, once again, toyed with your opposition. But I want to see what you guys can do with a guy like Lamar Jackson, because not every NFL defense has figured him out yet. So Lamar Jackson is potentially a threat to your perfect season, even though you've had no competition. And then the Ravens, against the Seahawks, you guys had a statement victory. That's a tough team to go up against. Lamar Jackson, he did throw for 143 yards, but he did rush for 116 yards and a touchdown. Other than that, nothing else I can say, because you guys were super limited in the air. And that's about it. There's nothing else I can say, because the air was very limited, but the ground was a lot more what you guys were going for against the Seahawks. So if I got to pick a winner of this one, I'm excited to see this match, but sadly, I still think the Patriots will win. So Patriots win. Now we move on to the final matchup on Monday Night Football. And now you have our final matchup between the Dallas Cowboys and the New York Giants. The Cowboys came off a 37-10 victory over the Eagles. And then the Giants, they lost last week to the Lions 31-26. So let's start it out with the Cowboys. I mean, you were on your bye, but you did beat the Eagles in a big statement victory. Ezekiel Elliott had 111 rushing yards and a touchdown. Dak Prescott threw for 239 yards, a touchdown and a pick, because the thing was, the Eagles were coming in, were to win in this game. This was to see who takes the lead in the NFC North, and it was you guys. You guys played a very good game. And also Amari Cooper, 5 receptions, 106 yards and a touchdown, and no touchdowns. But you silenced the Eagles, and that's about as much as I can say. Very well game you played on Sunday night. And then the Giants, you guys made it close. Daniel Jones, 322 yards, 4 touchdowns, no picks. Saquon only ran for 64 yards, but he did have 8 receptions, 79 yards, and a touchdown. Golden Tate seems to be your number 1 wideout option, which, to me, that's okay. Golden Tate, he is a good wide receiver. Not great, but he isn't terrible at the same time. Your defense, you guys did fall apart to Matthew Stafford, but he's got a bit of an arm. I could see that happening because you guys have a terrible defense. But anyways, if I want to pick a winner of this one, plain and simple, Cowboys. Cowboys win because that Giants defense is terrible. And that is my video for today. Thank you guys all so much for watching. If you want to watch the rest of my prediction videos in order, the link will be in the description below. Make sure to like this video, subscribe to my channel, comment down below what other kind of videos you want to see. Tell me who you think are going to win each matchup this week. Make sure to follow me on Instagram and Snapchat, Absolute Savage. Thank you all for watching. Have a great day. And, of course, you didn't see a Saints prediction because we are on our bye week. Anyways, thank you guys for watching. Who Dat Nation is out.